What's up, everybody? Andrew Mahone here. Welcome to Tricky Jim. Going over another deck profile today, and this is Igor Costa's Madison Regional Championship winning list. Incredible Buzzrock list. Igor has been on fire this year. This is his third regional championship win of the year. Igor and crew have been playing Buzzrock for a while. They test this deck all the time, so this is one of, if not the list to look out for heading into the North American International Championships. I really like what Igor has done with this list. It's a little greedy in some areas, but that greed has paid off in dividends, winning Igor that $5,000. This is a $5,000 deck list, and I know a lot of other players, top players, were playing very similar lists. I like the direction of this deck. Let's talk about it. Buzzwole is a deck that has all eyes on it. Literally everybody wants to beat Buzzwole decks, but this deck so powerful that it evades even counters. I mean, even Mewtwo's, Latios's, Mew EX's, whatever. Buzzwole does not care. Buzzwole will knock you out. We've got 3 copies of the mini Buzzwole here. Baby Buzz, Little Buzz, Buzzwole, non-EX, non-GX, whatever you want to call them. Sledgehammer Buzz. Buzzwole. We've got 3 of those in here. That is a deviation from more standard lists. We saw Will's list, our friend Will, was playing just one of these Buzzwoles, and I have come around full circle on this mini Buzzwole here. I think this card's incredible. 3 copies of it, fantastic. I've heard some players even going to 4 copies of this card. This card is the all-star of this deck. We also have 2 copies of Buzzwole GX, thinner lines of everything else now, just a 1-1 Lycanroc GX line, a 1-1 Octillery line, and 1 Diancie, 1 Regirock, and 1 Tapu Lele GX. And the real star of the show, as you can see, is this little Buzzwole. This is the card that we play the most of. This is the poster boy for the deck now with that Sledgehammer attack. I originally thought the Sledgehammer was just a little too conditional. The fact that you needed your opponent to be at 4 prizes remaining in order for it to do a lot of damage. But Sledgehammer gets in there on every other turn of the game. You're doing 30 damage for 1 energy. With a strong energy, that's 50 damage. With a choice band, that's 80 damage. With a Diancie, that's 100 damage. With a Regirock, that's 110 damage. So you could do like over 110 damage with Sledgehammer.
120 with beast energy.
120 if it's a beast energy. Natalie says. And that's not even if your opponent's at 4 prizes. So Sledgehammer can easily 2-hit KO EX and GX Pokemon without your opponent being at 4 prize cards remaining, making this card an absolute terror to deal with. Not only that, it's got 130 hit points, means that it does not get 1-hit KO'd by a Zoroark's Riotous Beating, but can 1-hit KO a Zoroark on any turn of the game with a appropriate Sledgehammer, okay? So that is pretty crazy. Sledgehammer can really get in there and do some serious damage starting out on the first turn of the game. What Igor was able to do to win the regional championship was just utilize these mini Buzzwoles here and keep his board clear of EX and GX Pokemon. Only playing 2 Buzzwole GX, only playing 1 Lycanroc GX, 1 Tapu Lele. Really was able to have a very sparse board position with maybe just a Rockruff, maybe an Octillery, a couple mini Buzzwoles, and kind of just jockeying for position and then waiting for the turns to go in with Beast Ring onto Buzzwole GX, take some big knockouts, some big jet punches for multiple prize turns, things like that. That is the power of this deck. And with Ultra Beast decks, timing is everything. Now that we've got Beast Ring, Sledgehammer, I mean, controlling prizes is just a huge part of the game right now and makes playing a Buzzwole deck just very skill intensive. It used to just be like, oh, did I hit my max elixirs? Okay, I either won or I lost. And it was more just like kind of a humdum knuckle impact. All right, you knuckle impact, I knuckle impact, we all knuckle impact kind of deck, and then I'll dangerous rogue, and that's game. But now we are sledgehammering strategically, and sometimes we'll even swing around. I mean, goodness, swing around can get up there and do upwards of 200 damage without even flipping, which is absolutely nuts. If you do swing around with the choice band, that is 110, and then if you have a strong energy on there, that's 130. If you have Diancie, that's 150. If you have Regirock, that's 160. You flip 1 heads, that's 180. You could easily get in there. If you have maybe 2 strongs in there, that's 200 damage. Swing around can easily do 200 damage in this deck, which is absolutely stunning. Totally crazy. We play the Diancie and the Regirock. Sometimes that extra boost from Regirock does make all the difference. Knuckle Impact can hit 190 damage without any damage modifiers with Diancie and Regirock in play, which is super good and relevant, knocking out things like Ultra Necrozma and your opponent's Buzzwole GX without hitting things like Strong Energy, Beast Energy, or Choice Band. So that is fantastic. You will use Buzzwole GX to clean up the game after you've gone around, poked around with Buzzwole here. I love the fact that the 3 copies of this Buzzwole really allows you to control the pace of the game. That is the name of the game when it comes to Buzzwole decks nowadays. 1 copy of Tapu Lele, you really don't want this thing in play because it's just a liability. It has it's your GX Pokemon with the least amount of hit points. This is a liability. Crazy to say, right? But 170 hit points is way easier for decks to hit now than 190, 200, and things like that. So 170 hit points is actually pretty weak. Not to mention, it just does not help your board state at all having a Tapu Lele in play. So this is kind of just here to dig you out of a supporter drought, or to get the game-winning supporter, or just to get you started on the right track. Lycanroc GX, having just a 1-1 line is a little bit sketchy. I know players like Mike Pramwat played a 2-1 line of Lycanroc, a 2-1 line of Octillery, but skimped on some other cards. A 2-1 Lycanroc line is much more reliable. You want to get Lycanroc out almost every single game for that dangerous Rogue GX. You're almost always taking a pointed one-hit knockout with that. But 1-1 line really is all you need with this deck, since you're not going in with early knuckle impacts anymore. You're kind of just sledgehammering around. You don't really want to have GXs on the field anymore. So I do agree with the 1-1 line. Think that's totally fine. 1-1 Octillery line, a little bit sketchy, but hey, if you're just going in and sledgehammering, then it's fine. You know, you'll get the Octillery out enough, I guess. And if you don't, you don't. I mean, we play a lot of juice in this deck. This deck is just pretty much pure gasoline. So there's like nothing slowing this deck down. All you need to do is sledgehammer. Very low maintenance deck, and I love it for that. That's it for the Pokemon. Let's move on to the supporters, see what we got here. Got 4 copies of Professor Sycamore, probably the best supporter in the game still. We got 4 copies of Guzma so that we could take pointed knockouts with our Buzzwoles. We've got 2 copies of N, 2 copies of Cynthia, and that is it. Oh my goodness. So this kind of used to stress me out a lot, just playing the 2 copies of N, 2 copies of Cynthia, and 4 copies of Sycamore. This is not actually a lot of supporters when you look at it. So these lists, they are very greedy. I mean, this is 8 draw supporters, okay? We play 8 draw supporters. We play a 1-1 Octillery line. It used to make me feel a little more comfortable when you say, it's cool, you play Octillery. You know, you play Brooklyn Hill, you play a ton of outs to go get your Octillery, but now we're only playing a 1-1 Octillery line. So you're telling me we're only playing 8 draw supporters, 1 Tapu Lele, and a 1-1 Octillery line seems sketch. I mean, I remember back at the Memphis Regional Championships when I was playing Buzzrock, I felt sketched out playing just the 4 Sycamore, 4 N, a 2-2 Octillery, and 2 Tapu Lele, and I was still drawing dead sometimes. This deck will draw dead sometimes, but the thing is that it's so low maintenance that all you really need are attackers and energy, and that's it. Right? I mean, sometimes you're Guzmaing things, and then that's really pretty much it. Brooklyn Hill will continue to pull attackers out of your deck, and then so long as you have energy to place onto your boys, then what else do you really need? So I do actually approve of this supporter count now, but I've really, kind of thought it through. The deck is very low maintenance. It works just fine. Shout out to Natalie. These are Natalie's cards here, by the way. Natalie said that I had to shout her out for showing off her Buzzrock cards. These are the cards she plays in like every single deck. You say she's very specific. She plays Dark Explorer's Ends, just to let you know. And she plays Dark Explorer's Ultra Balls as well. So that's it for the supporters. Let's move on to the items. We've got 4 copies of Dark Explorer's Ultra Balls per Natalie's, requests. We've also got 4 copies of Max Elixir, 3 copies of Choice Band, 3 copies of Floatstone, 3 copies of Beast Ring, which I love, 1 copy of Super Rod, and 3 copies of Brooklet Hill. And this is pretty much all the juice this deck needs. This is fantastic. 3 copies of Brooklet Hill to set the deck up. Like I said, who needs draw supporters when you just pull Pokemon out of the deck with Brooklet Hill, Ultra Ball, whatever, what have you. And if you don't have draw supporters in hand, odds are you got things like Max Elixir, Beast Ring, and Energy in hand. right? And you got to have something in your hand. So if you have, Max Elixir, Beast Ring, and Energy in your hand, you don't really need anything else. Maybe if you don't have a draw supporter, you might have a Guzma. You could Sledgehammer, Guzma, Sledgehammer, whatever. Your opponent takes 2 prizes. Oh, here comes a huge Sledgehammer, whatever. You're just sledgehammering your mind into oblivion, just going to be whatever, Sledgehammer all day. Then you got Beast Ring, then you got Max Elixir. This deck is gas. If you run out of energy, you Super Rod him back in. Maybe if you have to discard your Lycanroc, you Super Rod it back in. Super Rod saves you from some nasty discards, things like that, should you have them. Choice Band allows you to hit some crazy numbers with your Sledgehammer, with your Swing Around, whatever. 3 Floatstone, definitely necessary for mobility in this deck, and 3 Beast Ring allows you to hit it when you are on those crucial turns, those crucial prize turns where your opponent's at 3 or 4 prizes. Having 3 copies of Beast Ring means that most games you are hitting Beast Ring, which I really, really love, as opposed to 2 copies or anything like that. I also love 4 copies of Max Elixir in here. It means that you just have juice in this deck. I mean, this deck is just pure energy acceleration, which I really, really love because that's all your Buzzwoles need to win games. So that is fantastic, and I really do love all the items. This is perfect. I mean, this is like your ideal item count for a Buzzwole deck. I have no other requests. I mean, maybe a Field Blower would be nice, but you don't need it. You really don't need it. What do you need it for? To remove things from, from Garbodor? No. To remove Perilous City? Don't need it. To remove Fighting Fury Belt? You can hit those numbers. Really, it does not matter. Even if you just played one, Field Blower, the odds of you removing the Fighting Fury Belt on the turn you need it anyways are pretty low. Just, you fix up the math with Jet Punch, and then you go in and you take the knockout the old-fashioned way. You don't really need Field Blower in here. As far as the energy, I think we play like 10 energy. We play 10 basic fighting energy. We play 4 strongs and a beast energy. So that is just, like I said, all you really need is energy and Pokemon. This deck gets it into play. Talk about low maintenance deck. This deck takes almost nothing to get going and has some of the highest overall damage ceiling in the entire game right now, which is absolutely crazy. The deck does not care about abilities, doesn't really need abilities at all. All it needs is to attach energy. That's how strong this deck is. I've heard people say that Buzzrock is the strongest archetype to have ever existed in the history of the Pokemon trading card game. That is Jimmy Pendarvis, quote, 2018. Buzzrock's the most busted deck that has ever been made in the history of the Pokemon trading card game, and I think that I might just agree. I mean, this deck is way too strong for its own good, but hey, at least Max Elixir is rotating soon. So then I guess we'll get to reconsider and look and see what Buzzrock looks like heading forward after Max Elixir. Max Elixir definitely makes the deck filthy, but you might not even need it. So that is it for Buzzrock. Let me know, what do you think of Buzzrock heading into the North American International Championships? What do you think of Igor Costa's regional championship winning list here? Make sure to like the video, sub to the channel. Check me out on Twitter at enjoyfriend, ENJOI friend. Make sure to check out all the sweet links in the description below as well. Peace.